and how you can protect yourself and your family from becoming a victim. My name is Jim Aldred, and I'm a volunteer with AARP in Massachusetts. And our guest today is Jim Carney, who is also one of my fellow volunteers, and he's with AARP, the Massachusetts Speakers Bureau. Today's topic is 13 ways to protect yourself from fraud and how to lower your risk and keep criminals at bay. You may have joined us today with the question already in mind, and if you have, please just enter it into the chat at the bottom or into the Q&A at the bottom also of the screen. And if questions come up during the presentation, put them there in the Q&A. This session is being recorded. You'll receive a copy of this recording that you can share with your family and friends. And at the end of the presentation, we'll share a page with the links of a number of resources. So Jim, let's get started.
We'll start with a poll first. If everyone would check on, can you see the poll, Jim?
Yes, I can. Yep.
Okay, so if everyone would check here what the answer to these questions. And people are still responding here. Okay. Okay, I'm going to end the poll and let's take a look at our results. So it looks like everyone has been approached with a fraudulent offer or received suspicious texts. They check their credit reports. That's great. They have a social media account, which can be a phishing ground, and they keep their viruses updated. So thanks. Jim, it's all yours now.
Okay, then. My fellow panelist, as I mentioned, is Jim Carney. Jim, how are you?
I'm great.
Good. Jim, can you talk to us a little bit about how prevalent scams are?
Sure. Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for coming. Scams are rampant these days. Criminal stealing reported $8.8 billion from Americans last year, according to the Federal Trade Commission. And this is just what is reported. We all know there's a lot of it that never gets reported. But there are ways to protect yourself, including staying up on the latest schemes and following the advice that we're going to discuss today. One of the best words of warning is, if it sounds too good to be true, it probably is. Scammers try to get you into a heightened emotional state, which they call getting you under the ether, so that you are not thinking logically. You're but acting emotionally. It's a very powerful tactic. So don't make a purchase or any kind of major decision when you are being pressured that puts you in a heightened emotional state or under the ether.
Right, right. They try to get you to do things quickly where you don't have the opportunity to think.
Exactly. That's just what we don't want to do.
Right, right. Let's start the countdown of the 13 things that you know you can do to protect yourself and your family from scammers. What are those, Jim?
Okay. Number one starts and stops at your mailbox. The post office offers a free service called Informed Delivery. The agency emails you every day with photos of letter-sized mail expected to be delivered to you that day or shortly thereafter. This is a great way to be sure that nothing is stolen from your mailbox by ID thieves. So sign up at informeddelivery.usps.com. And again, this will be on the list of items you'll get at the end. We'll provide this link in the slides at the end of the presentation. Pick up your mail as quickly as possible after it's delivered, and always take your outgoing mail directly to the post office or to a mailbox if you can still find them. A hot prod now is scammers stealing checks from mailboxes, erasing the ink, and using them to steal from bank accounts. It's called check washing. Number two, Halt scammers at your front door. Consider installing a video camera or a video doorbell. They're increasingly less expensive and quite common these days, and they're easy to install. If you don't recognize a visitor, don't answer. If you find yourself being pressured to buy or donate, have a refusal script ready. You may consider taping it near the door. It would say something to the effect of, I do not do business at my door. Please leave me something to review, and if I'm interested, I'll call you. And be wary of people posing as utility workers who show up unannounced. Don't allow anyone into your house without an appointment, and always ask for their ID.
Right. Jim, I've had people show up at my door saying that they're doing landscaping work for my neighbors. Also, you see roofers in the area and home repairs. And I don't see any trucks anywhere in sight. And I simply say goodbye to them and thanks for stopping by. What's the next tip we should be looking at?
Yeah, that's a good point, and it's good advice to just send them on their way. Okay, number 3 is what's sometimes called dumpster divers. You need to prevent garbage theft. Shred any papers that contain private information like financial statements, bills, shipping receipts, etc. before putting them out for pickup to avoid identity theft. If you don't want to invest in a good crosscut shredder, many communities have shredding events or permanent drop-off sites. Get in the habit of dropping off your accumulated documents once every few months. Depending on your state, AARP sponsors shredding events. You can check the website. And by the way, AARP Massachusetts does have 2 scheduled shredding events scheduled. They are free, and whatever you bring is shredded on site. One is this Saturday. I got the list here. This Saturday, July 15th in Natick. And then there is one on Saturday, August 26th in Worcester. And that information is available on the AARP website. Okay, number 4. Watch your credit card skimming. Credit card skimming is where the criminal affixes a credit card reader on top of a legitimate card reader in a store or gas station. It is estimated to cause up to $1 billion in losses annually. When you are paying at a gas station or a store or other point of sale location, inspect the device for loose, broken, scratched machinery to make sure someone hasn't tampered with it. If you are unsure, notify the cashier and pay using an alternative method. Number 5 has to do with your credit. You need to monitor your credit report. Routinely check yours. Many credit card companies provide it for free. If not, go to annualcreditreport.com or call 1-877-322-8228. Again, we are going to provide you with all this information, so don't scramble to try to write it down. Watch for unused activity. If you see any, report it immediately to the appropriate financial institution. Then freeze your credit report. This prevents scammers from opening new credit cards or making big purchases in your name. You can unfreeze it as needed for legitimate transactions. Visit identitytheft.gov for more information. And I have done that actually to my own credit too, which means that no one can open any new accounts as long as that freeze is on. And if you are going to open a new account, take out a new loan or something, you can unfreeze it temporarily. Okay, number 6 is a quick one, but nevertheless important. Safeguard your wallet. Remove cards and information you don't need to carry, such as your Social Security or Medicare card. Make copies of the remaining cards front and back and store in a safe place. Audit your wallet and purse frequently. Take out any unnecessary items that collect and could compromise your personal information if lost, or there would be a hassle to replace.
So Jim, looks like we're almost halfway through the list. What is number 7?
Number 7 is to protect your financial account. Create online accounts with each of your financial institutions, such as banks, credit cards, and so on. Come up with a unique password for each. Make sure your passwords are secure and don't reuse the same password on more than one account. Then get in the habit of reviewing the transaction list on a weekly or bi-weekly basis. Be sure you can account for every listed transaction, and if you spot something odd or incorrect, immediately report it. With most people now having smartphones, this brings us to number 8, safeguarding your smartphone. If you have a newer model, turn on biometric identification. This is where you use your fingerprint or your facial recognition to log in rather than a password. This will help prevent a thief from logging into your phone. Send calls from unknown numbers to voicemail. You can enable this in the phone settings. Make sure your voicemail is set up and not full so you can receive legitimate messages. Scammers are sending far more bogus text, often posing as companies you routinely deal with. Never respond to an unsolicited business text. If you think it might be valid, call the organization or go online. And I know I get these all the time, telling me my Amazon account or my Netflix account or something is being frozen and I need to go to this link in the text to straighten it out. Never click on those links. If you do suspect there is an issue with your account, log in the way you normally do with your username and password and check the status that way. Number 9 has to do with securing your computer. Turn on two-factor authentication for all secure websites you frequent, such as financial institutions or utility companies. Each site normally has a way of doing this. Two-factor authentication means that after you log in with your username and password, they didn't send you a code by either text or email. It's usually a 6-digit code. And you have to enter that code in order to log in. And that code changes every time you log in. Consider subscribing to antivirus software service. Some security experts say browsers and device manufacturers have more built-in malware protection than years ago, such as Microsoft Defender, which comes installed on Windows 10 and 11. And some paid subscriptions also include ad tracker blocking, cloud backups on your machine, and identity theft monitoring. Number 10 is another quick one. Protect your email accounts. Actively designate unsolicited and unwanted email that shows up in your inbox as spam, so future emails from that site get blocked. You also have the option to unsubscribe from unwanted email that you usually find in very small letters at the end of the email. There's a link you can click on subscribe. Do not open file attachments and emails unless they are from businesses or people that you trust. Malware is often planted in these email attachments.
Jim, this is great information. And just a reminder to the participants, if you have any questions, please put them in the question and answer at the bottom of the screen. Now let's move on to the last 3 items.
Okay. Number 11 is set limits on social media. Set your profile so that only friends can see your Facebook page. To do that, click the downward arrow button on the upper right corner of your Facebook page, then click on Settings and Privacy checking. This easy-to-use wizard will guide you through the settings. and never accept friend requests from people you don't know or respond to random messages from strangers. But also note that impostor scams where someone pretends to be your friend are rampant on social media. With so many people now doing online shopping, number 12 is about verifying online stores. To avoid shopping scams, when typing in a URL, double and triple check the spelling to ensure you are on the correct page. Scammers often create a URL one letter off from the authentic one with the hopes that you won't notice and the difference and catch it. Remove your credit card number and information from restaurant delivery and retail store sites. Pay using an e-payment service that keeps credit card info on a highly secured site. Oh, and last but not least, number 13 is about changing the way you think. Learn how to engage. You are under no obligation in these modern times to respond to calls, emails, or texts from strangers, particularly if they were unsolicited, especially given that so many of them are fraudulent. Learn to say no. Sometimes the caller will get through, get tough, say, I do not do business over the phone, goodbye, and then hang up without remorse. Trust your instincts. If something doesn't sound right, run it by someone you trust and take extra time to think about it.
Thanks, Jim. Those are great tips. To wrap up, we have a few slides with resources that we'll be sending to you.
Oh, actually, Jim, before we get to the slides, they do have a lot of links on them that will answer some of the questions that have come up.
Yep.
One of the questions says that they get informed delivery, but it's not unusual to receive a piece of mail on the next day or two that probably isn't part of that. So it's not everything in life isn't perfect. So that might be one of them. But another question says, when you were a victim of fraud, where should you report it?
The first place
She
I
says, she says, I report fraud to my local police department, but it's, is that there are some other place? Yeah, there's a couple places. One, the Federal Trade Commission, and the slide that's going to come up, there'll be a phone number and a link that you can use to report to the Federal Trade Commission. You can also call on the slide that's going to come up, the Fraud Watch helpline, the AARP Fraud Watch helpline. Call, report it there. Unless people are reporting it, no one knows it's going on and they don't know how to fight it. So it's really important, even with the police department, especially if you've lost money, call and make sure they take the report. Sometimes well, it was your own fault, you lost it. Make them take the report. So Federal Trade Commission, the AARP Fraud Watch helpline, so Federal Trade, the hotline, and your police department. Those are all great places because if they don't know about it, they can't track it. Another one says, is locking your social security number the same as freezing your credit report? No, they are two different things. Credit report simply freezes your credit so no one can open up credit. You can also, I haven't done it yet, but you can freeze your social security number with the Social Security Administration. Will this information be available on the AARP website after this? In fact, you're going to get a copy of the this recording that we're doing. You're going to get a copy of the slide that has the links on it. So you'll have those as resources. We want you to share that with family and friends. And so are you going to access this broadcast later on? We're going to send it out to folks so people can view it wherever, whenever, and send it to whoever and wherever. So we want to get the word out because information, education, and awareness is the key to keeping yourself safe. Here's another question. Is there an antivirus protection you would recommend that's free? If not, as volunteers with AARP, we cannot recommend any product. what I would do is check with family and friends to see what they're using and see how effective it is for them. You can also go and do a Google search on free virus protection software and see what's out there. But do your research. And when you Google anything, make sure that when you Google it, before you click on the link, the first couple links that are going to come up are going to be advertisements. They're going to have the word sponsor probably next to them. Make sure that you scroll down and look at the URL to make sure you're going to the website that you really want to go to. Somebody else says, I have read that we should not unsubscribe for these emails. Can I comment?
That's a good point.
Yeah, I've heard both things.
If it's an email, they can just send it right to, they can either block the email sender, or they could click that it's spam.
Those are two good solutions. Yes, I've heard that unsubscribe sometimes doesn't work, but you're right. I think sending them to spam automatically or blocking the emails. I block tons of emails coming in that are from people I don't know.
Just this morning.
Yeah. I've heard this tip the other day. Your answer to, let me put my glasses on because the text is too small to read. I heard this tip the other day. If you answer a call that starts with, do you hear me? You should not answer yes. No, don't answer yes. Don't just hang up. They usually say, how are you today? And I usually say, I'm horrible. And they keep on going on like everything's fine. It's all recorded. It's all artificial intelligence. They just, based on the way you answer, sometimes they move you right on. No, don't say yes, because if they record your voice, that voice recording can be used elsewhere. We see that on the grandparent scheme, having the scammer get a hold of 7 to 8 seconds of the grandchild's voice on social media, and then they can make an entire conversation that makes it sound just like that person. So no, I would never respond with the word yes. And does a product like Apple Pay keep your credit card information private when you pay for something? That is a question I cannot answer because I don't know. I don't know.
Right. If I could double back here a little bit.
Sure.
I don't know, Jim, I don't know if you mentioned it earlier, or Dennis, you mentioned it earlier about a lot of people, if they're using laptops, they're Microsoft-based laptops.
Mhm.
Yep.
They come with the Windows Defender automatically. You could activate Windows Defender. It's a great thing. I've got it running on, I'm on a Microsoft, this is actually an HP, but it runs Microsoft Windows. In Windows, in Defender is running in the background constantly. And it pops up and lets me know if it's detected any viruses, attacks, or anything like that. So if most people are on laptops, Apple, I'm sure, has their own thing. But these laptops and desktops, for that matter, automatically come with some sort of virus protection installed.
Let me share my screen for a minute.
Sure.
And here it is. You can all see it. Let me go to slideshow. Slideshow from, there we go. All right, here's some links. When you get this it'll come as a PDF file. You can click on any one of these blue links and it'll take you to the informed delivery, so you can sign up for that. We talked about freezing your credit. Here's an article from AARP about how and why to freeze your credit. Identity theft, specific information on identitytheft.org or .gov. The annual credit report you can get here, or you can call the number. The Fraud Watch Network, and that has the Fraud Watch Network hotline. And the Fraud Watch Network has a ton of information, always updated relative to the new scams that are going on. And there's also a section called the Resource Guide. If you scroll down through it, there are over 80 different types of scams you can click on. It started off about 4 years ago with 32 scams, and now it's up to 80. All of them are variations on a theme, but they're all just enough different that'll catch you off guard. And you can also, if you or someone you know have been victimized, you can join a virtual support group that is run through AARP and Volunteers of America. I've sat in on a couple of them. They help people. You're not probably going to get your money back, but what they are going to do is help you deal with the emotional trauma that you've been through as a victim. It's very difficult to get over that, and you can attend as many of these as you want. I've sat in a couple, and some people were repeat people who logged in, and to hear the stories is really heartbreaking, just heartbreaking. The emotional trauma, the financial loss is one thing, but the emotional trauma is something else. And the one thing I think that Jim mentioned earlier, this under the ether, remember, it's not who you are. People say, I'm too smart to be scammed. It's how you are at the time of encounter, whether you're excited over maybe winning something or getting something, quote, for free. Nothing's ever for free. Or the grandparents scheme, or the scheme about you're going to be arrested because you didn't go to jury duty, instilling some kind of emotion. Remember, don't act quickly. So let's see if there's any more questions. Ooh, I think there might be another two here. Let's see. Jim, you said that your volume is quite low. How do I freeze my credit report? Right here on, when you get this slide here, there's the second item that says how and why to freeze your credit, and it'll lead you through. The one scary part, because I've done it, is that they have to know who you are. And the one piece of information that identifies you is your social security number. So you have to put that in, but make sure you're going to the actual for Experian, and you got to do it for all three, Experian, TransUnion, and Equifax. Make sure that you're actually going to the right site. And I believe that this article here, how and why, will list those three credit bureaus, and you can click on the link. That is safe right there. So I think that's what we have. Any final comments, Jim or Jim?
Yeah, I've got a friend recently divorced within the past 2 years, and his ex-wife was scammed out of $30,000 by some guy. What do they call it? I forget.
The romance scam, probably.
Yes, a romance. It was on one of the websites, either Match.com or Plenty of Fish, one of those, and this no good Nick took her for $30,000.
Yeah, and there's I've heard way too many stories about romance scams, and there is no way you can convince the person it is a scam, because they're so heavily emotionally invested in that relationship.
And the relationship never even started.
Right.
It hadn't even started. I hate to say this, but she had never met the guy.
Right, and that's usually what happens. They're always in another state. They have a medical emergency. Their car broke down, and the list goes on. You will never meet them, and they're going to ask for money. Those are the two big warning signs.
Oh my Lord. Yep. There you go.
Good.
It's there. Well, thanks
So,
everybody for stopping by.
Yes, that's the end of the questions. That's all
Hope
we
you
have for
found it
questions.
worthwhile.
And watch your email for the, we'll send it out probably later today or tomorrow, the recording, as well as the one slide that has all those links to finding out all kinds of information and reporting it.
Good. Thank you, Dennis.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank
We'll
you,
hope
Jim.
to see you next month when it is protecting your kids and grandkids. I think that's what we have now. Yep. Protecting your children from scams, because when it comes to children are more likely to be scammed. They just have less money to steal, so it's out there. So
They're believers.
thank you all.